So I guess so, Rob. I guess you are the chairman, from what I understand. So, how did you find yourself into this field? How's your interest in astronomy? How did it develop?
Well, like most people, it stems from a very early age. You just see a program, and it just something just sort of clicks or hooks with you, and you just get bugged with it. You just want to find out a little bit more about it. Um, Things like early episodes of The Sky at Night, for example. I think John Hurt did a program about the planets as well, which was widely broadcast. And just stuff like that really gets you interested and starts making you think more about it, how far you want to go with it, that sort of thing. And I find just looking up at the sky generally, it's just a fantastic feeling, just imagining what is out there, and it's all free as well. You just got to look up and enjoy it. It is from a very early age where I've been interested in astronomy. It is. You just as life goes on, you just seem to get more and more involved in it. Like I say, now I'm fortunate enough to be chairman of our Mansfield and Sutton Astronomical Society, and I'm very proud to be in this position.
So, how about you, Brendan? How did you come to the game, as it were?
Yeah, crikey! It's I'm gonna have to think back a good number of years now, because 43 in a couple of weeks' time, and I've been into it since I was about 7 years old. So a good, what's that, about 36 years, I would say. So a good number of years, about coming on to 4 decades almost. But yeah, really from the age of 7, I recall my parents had a set of encyclopedias stuffed in their electric cupboard. There was about 8 volumes, and the 8th volume was a chunky one. It was the index for the rest of the series, but it had star maps for every month of the year in the back of that 8th volume. And the pictures of the star maps were really pretty. There were nice descriptions of the night sky. And this is what you could see looking south from a particular city at 10 o'clock at night. And it just captured my imagination. And I tried to look out my mum's bedroom window and, look south and see if I could recognise these constellations, and really took it from there. And I think anything else after that was really Patrick Moore, really. And I think that's the same story for a lot of people, really. Patrick Moore popularised astronomy big time, over TV and social media and that. And that's the second way I actually got into astronomy and furthered my interest into astronomy was Patrick Moore. And he actually released a cassette that you could pop into a cassette player or a Walkman I had at the time. And it was quite useful because it played the Sky at Night theme tune, intro. Then he would talk you through the constellations, what you could see in the night sky. So there was 4 seasons, and you can just fast forward the cassette and listen to the season you're in outside with your headphones on, looking in the sky, and Patrick Moore be telling you where to look for the stars and, constellations and everything. And yeah, that's where it really started to make sense, when I had a guiding hand from Patrick talking to me as if he was next to me in the garden and pointing out where these stars were. And that's when it really gelled and knitted together, really. I could figure out what he meant because he was so good with it.
Is there a potential there to do that as a kind of an app or an audio, like MP3 download, to download in your phone and put your ears in and do the same thing again?
Yeah, I think Patrick Moore was ahead of his time, really, because nowadays on mobile phones, you've got planetarium software. A click of a finger, you can scroll backwards in time, go forwards in time, and dial up what's in the night sky. Patrick Moore was ahead of the time, and he put it all on cassette years ago.
Yeah, something like that with Patrick Moore. Just speaking to you, explaining things would be like a personal guide, to the sky, and that would make, like I say, that would make a really good, strong connection. Whereas you're right, you can get all these really clever apps now on your phone where you can just point them up at the sky and it can show you what constellations are there, which is all very good. But like I say, if you had something personal like that, I can easily see where that strong bond can occur.
Well, I think he had that kind of like fatherly voice, didn't he? That kind of was a guiding toy. He was an educator as well as being he knew what he was talking about, and that really helped come across. And he kind of brought you into his little family and go, oh, this is what we can see. This is what we're talking about. I mean, I watched Sky at Night for years, and I would deliberately stay up late at night on a school night just to watch it. So, as we all did.
Yeah, lots of fond memories of watching the Sky at Night. And the unfortunate thing is, when I was young, it was on so late, I had to go to bed because I had to go to school the next day, and it was a nightmare. And the VHS video recorders I had back in the day, I think we had a couple in our house, and one would record and the other one wouldn't. And they're always temperamental whether they did or didn't. And I managed to get a good few series of the Sky at Night onto VHS cassette for my brother to only record over it with Coronation Street or something like that. Absolute nightmare.
I wonder, I wonder how many episodes are actually still available, like via iPlayer or any on BBC Archives or whatever. Because I
Possibly
guess
so. I think they did announce a short while ago they'd found a lost episode or an early episode of The Sky at Night, because it's a bit like Doctor Who. They didn't or lost a lot of the early recordings and things like that, which is a real shame, really, because, like I say, it was just iconic at the time. And I think, is it still the longest running space-related program in the world? It's got to be, hasn't it? On that.
Didn't it turn just to audio though on BBC Four like last year, or is it still as television?
It's always been television as far as I'm aware.
Yes.
At least from 1957, I think it's been running from. Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm sure it's about 1957.
But I think you're right, because then was just the first, Sputnik what went up as well. So I think it's all knitted and resonated with people. A new age was dawning, the space race sort of thing. Excuse me. And someone like Patrick Moore, who's a great communicator, very intelligent chap, and he just had this, I don't know, like a fatherly way of putting things over, and just so you can understand things. And you can just get his enthusiasm as he's coming over to it, explaining as well.
I think I really missed an opportunity with Patrick Moore, because you hear about all these eminent scientists, who are very popular nowadays, who wrote to Patrick Moore when they were very young. They were interested in astronomy, and Patrick Moore gave them lots of advice and pointed them in this direction, probably gave them a telescope to use. And, like Chris Lintott on The Sky at Night, they contacted Patrick Moore when he was very young, and he got lots of advice. Well, when I was very young, I went to my local library in Burton-upon-Trent, and they had all the telephone directories of the country, of each area. And me and my brother actually made a point of finding the one for where Patrick Moore lives, because he lives down south in Chelsea. That's where he used to live on the south coast. And we actually managed to find his telephone number in the telephone directory in the library. And I plucked up some nerve to actually dial the number into my mum's phone. And he actually picked it up, and he says, hello, Patrick here. And I panicked and put the phone straight down. And that's my biggest regret today, is actually hanging up on Patrick Moore, because I think if I held my nerve and spoke to him, I could have been on a different path today. Instead of doing chemistry at university, I could have been doing astronomy.
It could have been masters.
So, yeah.
Well, when someone like Patrick Moore on television, writing books and that, crikey, he's quite an imposing guy anyway, side-wise. So, okay, yeah, great just phoning him up.
Yeah. I can imagine what a conversation must have been, would have perhaps have looked like, or heard like.
But it's amazing, really, though, when you do get up close and personal to people, because we had Dame Jocelyn Bell-Burnell give us a talk about 18 months ago, and we took it out to one of the local schools, because we thought, well, someone world famous like her is going to be a big draw, and our lecture room only safely holds 35 people. So we made arrangements to take it out to one of the local schools, and it all worked out. We went, and we had a big turnout for her. And we went we met Dame Jocelyn beforehand for a meal before the show, so to speak. And it was just having a chat like we're talking. It was, it's kind of world famous, like just sitting next to you, having a chat. And I find they really are quite approachable.
Yeah.
It's quite strange, really. You'd think there would be, we can't even speak to them, but not like that. Not from my experience. The people we do get down to the observatory, because we have regular monthly speakers, just like Dame Jocelyn, for example. They're really quite approachable, very knowledgeable.
I had a similar experience once. Do you know Reverend Lionel Thamthorpe of the Fortean Times? He's president of ASAT. And I had a moment when I was at the University of Bath, and I did a talk. I was asked to come along to do a talk as a conference, and he was on stage, and then he shook my hand, spoke to me, and I lost all semblance of what words I was supposed to say. I mumbled through this, and then afterwards it was just like a normal guy you'd meet in the pub, and it's just like, what?
It is. I suppose they appreciate just being spoken to, and you're not sort of holding them putting them on a pedestal. Just have a chat. It can either work or it won't. And usually it does.
So can I ask about the observatory? So how did it get started? I mean, because to build an amateur observatory, I guess, is in an area like Nottingham, It's quite unusual, really. I wouldn't have thought there was even an observatory here. I mean, I lived here for quite some time. Unbeknownst, there was one relatively close. So how did it all get started?
Well, amazingly, there's still our quest is to make sure everyone knows about Sherwood Observatory, because there's still quite a lot of people who don't realise exactly where we are, who we are. So you're not alone in that, Kristian. Well, we're entering our 51st year since we were founded by our original founding members, and thankfully some of them are still members. And they bought a small parcel of land for, I believe, £50 back in the day, and it just got literally all through volunteering, slowly building the observatory up from reclaimed bricks from the local pits and things like that, factories that were being pulled down. And they even recycled the scaffolding, what they actually used to build the place, to make the telescope, our 24-inch Newtonian reflecting telescope in the dome. So it's literally, they had no money, when they founded the society. So everything had to be, scavenged, so to speak, recycled. And just recently, we had a bit of a landslip, and we actually, one of the things what was washed out was original brick from one of the collieries from back in the day. So it's just absolutely brilliant. So it was just some far-sighted people. A chap called Dave Collins was one of them, and he just put a small advert in a local newspaper for like-minded people to start an astronomical society, and the rest, they say, is history. And these people just got together, had a chat, and they used to meet up in, if I remember correctly, the canteen at where Dave Collins, or one of the original founding members, worked. And it just built up from there on it. So if something like this could be done today, I don't know, possibly. But they were very far-sighted, very determined people, and we absolutely thank them for doing this, because they have left a great legacy.
Well, determination is certainly powerful there as a motivator. To build such a, it's a vast structure, that is valuable to the community, valuable to science. It's amazing that people, should we say, normal people can make that happen. I wonder what the equivalent would be today to make something like that come together. So how did you get involved then, Rob? How did you just join the society and become promoted up? How did that work?
Oh, I've just joined the society. I thought I just want to get more involved in astronomy, and not be on my own, so to speak. But I was a little bit concerned about, can I just be myself when I join? I don't want to be with a lot of fuddy-duddy people. And so I asked to join, see what the situation was at Mansfield and Sutton. I was informed at the time that there was no vacancies. They had a cap at the time, and I thought, well, I just want to join an astronomical society, not a room at a hotel. So then they got back in touch saying they've got a vacancy. So they sent me an application form over. I filled it out, sent it in, and it was accepted. And so I just went up. I didn't know anybody, and I just learned about all the outreach, what they was doing, and they got an open event coming up in a few weeks' time. So I thought, well, just help out, volunteer. And I just got more and more involved in it, meeting lots of very like-minded people and just basically enjoying it. So I've been there, I think, 11 or 12 years now. I can't quite remember how many years. And the opportunity arose where I got to stand to be chairman. And I got voted on the committee in the position of chairman. And I'm in my third year at the moment as chairman. Very involved position, a lot of work involved in it, but there's a lot of enjoyment to get out of it as well. And I just love working with other like-minded people in trying to move the society on as far as possible and make it as enjoyable as possible for the rest of the membership.
What about you, Brendan? How did you come to join the society?
I think my first taste of Sherwood Observatory was probably about 2005, I think. I caught one of their public open nights advertised locally around Sutton and Ashfield, and I actually popped up there on the Saturday night on the public open night, and it was quite busy, as it always is on a public open night, even back in 2005. But yeah, after a very long, cold wait in the queue to go up the spiral staircase into the dome, I actually managed to have a look through the eyepiece of the big telescope in the dome, and yeah, it was actually pointing at the planet Saturn. I was quite impressed by that. And that's what really captured me. And I made a few inquiries to be a member. And as Rob said, there was a cap on membership, and I couldn't actually be a member till at least another 3-4 years, really. So it was probably about 2008, 2009 when I became a member. Quite disgruntled by the fact I couldn't be a member for so long. But when I did, I've never looked back, really. And it's always been a regular sort of place for me on a weekly basis. I'm up there 2-3 times a week. And I've been on the committee twice now up there. I think probably about 7 years ago I was a vice chairman of the society for a couple of years, dropped out of that, and now I'm back on it as the events coordinator guy. So I look after all the public events on site and off site for the society. So that's me in a nutshell, really.
It's a pretty broad scope of activities what you guys are doing. So what kind of events do you have that happened during the lockdown? How's that just changed the whole structure of running the society that generally runs open evenings? How's that?
Initially, it's been disappointing. When lockdown hit in March last year, it actually curtailed our last public open night of the season. So our March events that was going to go ahead in March had to be cancelled. Our night school had to be cancelled, so we lost 2 sessions of that, and it took us a while to get ourselves on our feet to roll into, public domain online, with platform of Zoom and that. But once we got to feet with that, it was pretty much plain sailing, really.
We was in full flow at the time in the early part of last year, February time, just running into March. And we was on track to record our second highest ever attendances at the observatory. But we could see in the background, COVID was getting more and more prevalent in the news. So we had to, like I say, we closed the observatory down mid-March, and we moved everything online. We quickly set up online for the membership, because the first priority is for the members. We need to keep them, engaged and informed, even entertained, dare I say. And they've responded really well, actually. We moved our society monthly talks online as well. And I think that's par for the course for everybody now. We encourage members to join in. We've got the regular quizzes. We've got one coming up in February, if I remember correctly. But we generally have a get together and a chat every Wednesday. So, like I say, we can try and encourage all the members and just make sure they're not missed and stuff like that, and just kick ideas about and what's happening in space in general, that sort of thing. So it's been a great learning curve, because there's certain things we've learned being online, what we'll keep once we can get back to live visits, like live streaming the talks for the whole membership, because there's always going to be people who can't get to the observatory. So why should they miss out on, say, this particular lecture, what's going off? Cameras on, scopes, that sort of thing. So we've taken as many positives out of this, in lockdown as possible, to make our society as good as possible afterwards.
I think, to add to that, Rob, we've been very fortunate during the pandemic lockdown in the fact that we've not lost members. We've actually acquired more members by our sort of online presence and rolling lectures out online. And we've got another one coming up next month. We've actually had a lot of interest in the society. So we've not been short of membership coming in, really.
You're absolutely right, Brendan. It just shows you how active we've been, in trying to push things, that we've not lost any members, we've actually gained. So we're going to take that as a real positive, but we're always trying to look to improve it anyway. But yeah, it's I think we did National Astronomy Week in November, where we live streamed it, and we had over 400 people viewing online, which was absolutely fantastic. We had people donating money to our planetarium project as well, which is now our Science Discovery Centre. So we do have a giving page for anyone who wishes to donate towards our Science Discovery Centre, which is on our website. But it's been great experience learning new things, what we can bring on board for when we can get out of this lockdown.
Yeah, I guess lockdown has thrown many plans a scupper, as they say. So this, your expansion of your observatory, do you want to take me a bit through that?
Sure. Like Brendan has mentioned, that about 10 years ago, we bought a strip of land adjacent to the observatory. And if you're just looking at it, it just looks like a man-made hill. But under this hill is a Victorian reservoir, what supplied water to the surrounding area. So we bought it, and the plan is to convert it into a state-of-the-art planetarium. So we've got the National Heritage Lottery involved, and they really are impressed with the plans we've got. We've done a lot of research into how this would be received by the local community, council, and things like that, and it's been a huge positive feedback we've had from it. So we've got lots of people in business who are involved in this, the running of the project board as well for it. So the lockdown has slowed things down a little and put plans back, but everything is still on track to move forward for the next phase of going to the National Heritage Lottery. And they've been really supportive, the Heritage Lottery. I can't thank them enough. They've been fantastic. And it's just going to be a state-of-the-art science discovery centre. There'll be nothing like it, really. I'm going to push it and say in the East Midlands, we will be a flagship for the area, and we will attract lots of interest. We've had it's about 18,000 visitors we need for it to break even, and the figures, even the conservative figures we've had on it, we should easily hit that. So we're really confident that this will come off.
Because I guess where you guys are situated as well also helps. It would help push Cockney and Ashfield and Sutton and Ashfield's their tourism, their pass through. So I think it'd be a huge boon to everything around the area.
It is. It will just enhance other attractions and areas of interest in the whole surrounding area. It is. So yeah, we're really positive about this, that it will happen. It is. We can't, to be honest with you, can't wait. We've got a project manager on board with it, Dr. Steve Wallace, and he's done absolutely a fantastic job of moving the whole project along. Unbelievable. Yes, full praise to him and his team.
Yeah, because sometimes you need that. Someone just needs to take the reins on an area of a project and go, let's see what your vision says to this. And they're like, and it magically seems to happen because they know how to do that. And you go, and then before you know it, it's just like, it's here. So what's the conservative estimate for the completion of that project?
2023, hopefully, the build. That is what we're hoping for. Like I say, that may have to slip due with all the lockdown and things, but we're still going to push for that date on it to get it over the line. So there's still a huge amount of work involved in it. And we've seen, there is plans all on this in a video on the almost a final design concept on our website. And it's had fantastic feedback from people who have seen it. And it's achievable. That's the good thing. It's something what's not high in the sky. It's an achievable project, this is.
I think what we've got, Rob, is so unique. It's so appealing and attractive for it to be something like we are describing, really, a planetarium discovery centre. I mean, I don't know what you can conjure up in your mind, Kristian, but it is like an underground layer, empty reservoir. It used to be full of water, but it's a brick vaulted, Victorian built. It could be bomb-proof. It's so solid and big and round. It's mightily impressive when you go in. It's got an echo and a reverberation when you go into this big water tank as well. It's half underground and half above, and it's mightily impressive. It's so attractive. Those who have seen it just think, well, this is an asset you've got that it'd be a shame to lose. So I think in part Heritage Lottery funds would be keen to kind of preserve the structure in some form, but also do something that's great to propel it forward into the 21st century, really, for a science discovery centre park. So we can have, both.
Yes. We do a lot of outreach. Like I say, we do all the uniform visits, brownies, Cubs, Scouts, Beavers, that sort of stuff, U3As. And eventually, they won't be at the observatory, they'll be at the Science Discovery Centre. So the experience they'll get when they're there, honestly, they will go wow. They just will. They go wow now when they come to the observatory and see the big telescope. When they go up there, they'll be blown away.
I mean, we'll probably be competing with the likes of Leicester Space Centre. That's the sort of par we'll probably be on eventually.
Yeah.
I've never actually been to the Space Centre. I mean, I've gone past it numerous times. I've never actually been there. I mean, is it a place that's still worth going?
I think it is good. It's got lots of things in what I like about the Space Centre. It's got lots of interactive stuff for the kids and big kids on that, and you can see literally Soyuz as well hanging there, so you really visualise how small it is actually when you're cramped inside that space capsule. But I think it's always good, I feel, to have if you can get touchy-feely to as much as possible. I think there's a great personal connection is fantastic on it, where you can just get up close to it and smell it and that.
Well, you say that, Rob. When I was last at the Leicester Space Centre, I was actually in the cafeteria having my sandwiches and a cup of coffee, and they've got a big, massive rocket in there. I can't remember what it's called. I think it was called Thor or something like that on the side. But there's a big red button at the bottom of it. But below the big nozzle at the bottom of the rocket, some kid ran up to it and pressed this big red button. Then lots of sirens and things started blasting and lights started flashing. And my whole table with my sandwiches and coffee was just deluged in this fog of smoke just puthering out the bottom of this engine nozzle. It's totally the wrong place to sit in the Leicester Space Centre. If you ever go, do not sit under the rocket in the cafeteria.
Yeah. Because when they put a sign up what says "Do not press," people are going to press it.
Of course, the big red button. There's always a big red button.
It is.
It's what you want is a big red button, especially if it says "Do not touch" on it, because you know someone's going to go and touch that.
I mean, the observatory's been open for, you say, 50 years now. So what contribution has been made by the observatory to I guess the community? What do people see when they come there? What value has been added?
Okay, well, just by pointing out things in the night sky, for example, when we do get a clear, because I'm in charge of the visits to the observatory as well. And I always put, if it's clear, we'll go outside or go into the dome and view, instead of talking about something. And then when you can point certain things out to people in the sky, they're just amazed by it. It gives them an understanding of what's literally above their heads. And that sense of wonderment comes, you can just see it physically hitting them. When you point out that shiny star, well, that's the planet Venus, for example, or that orange coloured star, well, that's Mars if it's available in the sky, that sort of stuff. And just pointing out some of the constellations, not just random stars. Well, that's the Plough, for example, or Cassiopeia on that. And it just sort of gets this connection, what I think we've lost now as a society because of all the light pollution. And that's what I love about it. You're just opening little bits for them to have a peek, and then it just grabs them and they want to find out a little bit more, and then you go and give them a talk and explain things about them, and they just really do get it, whether they're kids or big kids. And you can just tell when they come up to you afterwards, saying, "Oh, thank you very much," and just asking you a question about something what you've said and that lot, and you can just see the penny dropping, and it just falls into place, and you're going to send them away, and they're probably going to be Googling something and checking something out and getting the interest coming. We get lots of people saying, "Well, we've been a couple of 3 years ago and want to come back," various groups. So we know we're doing something right in just trying to inspire the population and the public who come up to the observatory. And that's what drives me, anyway, and I think pretty much drives every member of Mansfield and Sutton Astronomical Society, without doubt. You can just feel a connection happening between you and who you're speaking to. That's what I get out of it. I really love the face-to-face with people, so you can just immerse with them. It's great. Just fantastic.
Yeah, there's nothing more. There's nothing more exciting than trying to understand the mysterious. And to a lot of people, the universe, the cosmos, and space can be quite mysterious to them. They've always got lots of questions, and as Rob quite rightly said, it is a place of inspiration as well. Really, you don't necessarily always think about these things in everyday life because you're just preoccupied with doing so many things with today's technology. But when you come up to Sherwood Observatory, you're kind of put into a situation where you feel inspired to think about different things differently on the universe and the astronomy and solar system. And it's that inspiration that feeds young minds as well. So when Rob speaks of group visits going up to the observatory, it can be cubs, brownies, scouts, and young minds just absorb this like a sponge. And the amount of questions they come out with is quite challenging at times as well.
It's just, I'm always pointing out to people, you do not need fancy telescopes and that. You can do lots of naked eye of astronomy. But there's lots of things to see just with the unaided eye. You don't have to go and buy anything expensive. It's all free. Just look up.
I think that's inspired for thousands of years, of course. That has been one of the driving forces behind humanity now, wanting to understand our place in the cosmos. We've always wanted to reach out, understand, watch. How come, we're here every night and we're seeing this, the object move across the sky every night? What is it? It's different from all the stars, and obviously for thousands of years they've been able to track and understand what the cycle is of these planets, and it's been such a driving force for humanity. And it appears that for some people they aren't even aware of it, and it's quite odd, isn't it?
Absolutely. At one point in our history, we were really connected with the sky, but just that little simple light bulb, what we've invented, has made a total disconnect where it's destroyed the sky for people from vast areas of the globe, really. So, of course, just light pollution. So, like I'm saying, it's just we need to get that reconnection back on it so people can actually see, because we're just destroying the sky and other parts of our planet just with too much light. And it's an easy fix. We're just on a quest to try and educate and point people in the right direction of what they're actually missing out and get that connection back. It is, and it isn't expensive to enjoy the sky. You see these big fancy scopes, brilliant, absolutely fantastic. But just look up. That's what I like about it. It's just look up. And when you're under a pristine dark sky, you do not have to travel thousands of miles. You can just see it from your back garden, the Milky Way, the arm of the Milky Way, for example, our home galaxy. And we've destroyed all that. We need to bring it back.
I think, Bridget, you can jump in there, weren't you?
Oh, God, sorry.
No, I'm listening intently to Rob's passionate sort of take on it, really, which is it is quite right. With the advances of technology and the way it's going forward, it seems to be man's desire to light up everything, really. And it's a shame in some ways, but hopefully it will become under control eventually. I mean, we've not lost the night sky altogether. It's still up there, and there's lots of things you can do to get around it and mitigate it. But it's there for all to enjoy, hopefully, and it always will be. It'd be a shame if we do lose it, but I don't think we will. But
no, I don't think so either. I don't think humanity's that silly.
If there's anything that offends me more, it's being called an astrologer and not an astronomer. A lot of folks seem to get those two mixed up.
How does that happen?
It actually happens. It's more common than you think, actually. Even I noticed, I think a week ago, an astronomer, Mark Thompson, was being interviewed by a BBC reporter, and the BBC reporter actually referred to him as an astrologer. I mean, that's probably the ultimate thing you can insult an astronomer with, is calling them an astrologer. I mean, the two have their roots historically together, but they both got separated and they're both totally different nowadays, really.
One side they would have been more closely related because, of course, the way that they were trying to record the story of the star was to add a story to it, weren't they? And the story has become embellished to mean all kinds of silly things, perhaps. But I guess what they were trying to do was that's how you recorded history, was you basically recorded a story about it, and that's how you passed on to your child, so they knew. And then they've splattered off in their own different direction. But I guess they have diverged to more, this is structure, this is waffle.
Astronomy is just solely science, really, of everything beyond the Earth's atmosphere, really. That's the way to look at it.
Yeah, astronomy is just a beautiful thing. And sometimes, yeah, it's great to know something about, whatever you're looking at, for example. But sometimes you just got to kick back, look up, and enjoy it, and just soak it all in, and just be amazed at the majesty of it all. On that, it is. So yeah,
it's now even very humbling when people get really fascinated about the solstices or the equinoxes, or when it comes to an eclipse, everyone is really engaged with those subjects. I mean, do you find that you always have an uptick in terms of your viewership or your people coming when those events happen?
Yeah, absolutely. Just in December, just run up to Christmas, was the conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter. I think the first time they'd been this close together since 1631 on that. And luckily, we had some clear skies, not actually on the 23rd, I think it was the closest approach, but a couple of days before and a couple of days afterwards, sort of thing. So the interest was just fantastic, all on social media and through our membership, quite rightly. Just these two points of light slowly merging to become one. But just looking through, 10 by 50 binoculars, you could easily split them, sort of thing, and even see them. When you do use some binoculars, you can just, get the moons of Jupiter as well, the main Galilean moons. But yeah, you're right. When there is something that's being broadcast and publicised in the media, we do find an uptake, like solar eclipses, that sort of stuff, and generally things will light up the night sky, fireballs and stuff like that on it, and meteor showers. So yeah, we do seem to get more inquiries. So there's a lot more information going out into the public domain, which is a really good thing. Too much information on occasions, you just can't keep up.
Do you think that actually puts people off? They see it too much, or they feel that they can't engage because there's too much information? Do you think that's also an off-putting?
I can't say I've ever really come across that as such, really. I don't think it's ever been too much. I don't think it's ever been rammed down our throats where we've been so sick of it we want to turn this off the box or anything like that. I mean, there's so much choice in today's world. I mean, you can take it or leave it, basically. And we find there's enough people out there who are up for it and take it. And at the best of times, we're quite deluged with it when we're operational at the society. In fact, sometimes we have too many people turn up and it can be a problem, which is something we need to address.
We can be a victim of our own success, really, with the amount of people who want to come and visit on, say, open events, because the open events are our flagship events for the society. But again, with this lockdown, we're looking at new ways of managing it. So it's making it a better experience for the public when they come and visit us, and a little bit easier for us to give them, a better service, because we're always trying to look to improve. So we are taking advantage of this enforced lockdown to hopefully, when we can open up again, because we really believe there'll be a strong surge to get back up close and personal with all the stuff we've been denied, so we can give an even better experience to people who come and visit.
It's a shame we can't be live from Sherwood Observatory, Kristian. Then behind me, I could have my camera just walking about and you can see the telescope and everything behind, to be honest with you. Or in fact, you could have been there in person yourself, maybe.
We could do that.
Hey, we can come back and always do this again.
Absolutely. I mean, the thing is, I've found with every guest I've spoken to, they're all like, we need to do this again.
Yeah, we do. Absolutely. It is. It's great. It just gives people a better insight into who we are, what we do, sort of thing. And it just made, like I say, click with someone and thinks, oh, I'll check this out.
That's it. I mean, I guess, so with your current telescopes, do you have like a plan of when you replace them? Is there a kind of an expiry on the equipment, shall we say? Does it need maintenance or anything like that? How does that work?
Yeah, it needs maintenance, obviously. I mean, you've got to keep these things clean and tidy and everything. But a telescope, like anything, if you keep it well, then it should last a lifetime, basically. I mean, quite robust, systems. I mean, I think some of the oldest telescopes around, used by some of the great astronomers from hundreds of years ago, still exist because they've been kept so well in cabinets and museums and that. Yeah. Long as they're used and looked after, they're fine.
Yeah, that's right. They generally are. Any instrument along the lines of a telescope is generally looked after and cared for. We're going to leave it outside in the rain, for example, on that. But we've got a 24-inch reflecting telescope, Newtonian, in the dome, and people look at this big mirror and it was dust on it and bits and pieces. And they think, well, why don't you clean it? But it doesn't have a great effect on the operation of the scope. In fact, cleaning it can be causing more problems and damage to it. Scratching the surface, for example, is really difficult. So generally, no, the maintained collimation and stuff like that, depending on what type of telescope it is, but generally looked after and they'll last a lifetime.
Oh, man. So I was going to say, like you said there, is that some scopes must last hundreds and hundreds of years. I mean, that's still used. I mean, the Galileo stuff from like hundreds of years. I'm sure it's still a term. Where is that now? Is it the Royal Observatory in London? It's there at Greenwich. Galileo scopes that you had.
Oh, the Galileo scope, I think, is in a museum somewhere. I think it's in Florence or somewhere. His original scope, I think, but there's been replicas made of it over the years.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Sure, see one at Greenwich. So I was thinking, is that one of his? Maybe not. So I was going to say, so what's the future then hold? So beyond the future, what you've got coming up with your expansion to a discovery centre, I mean, what have you got beyond that to come along?
Well, we're expanding in with, like I said, we do a lot of visits from the uniform groups and other groups like U3s, for example, and other private groups. But we're expanding into schools now as well. We've got a dedicated scholars section where we go out to the schools during the day and give a presentation there, take the solar telescope with us as well. And when we're lucky enough for people to look through a scope, whether it's a solar scope or, let's say, a normal telescope, they just wow when they get that experience to look at an object. And especially the sun, it just takes it to another level when they can view our local star, because it's like the moon. They don't even give it a second's thought. But we're really pushing hard to get it established with the schools, because we really feel that's a strong place where we want to be, especially with the STEM subjects, that sort of thing. So we've got a member now who's running up the schools outreach department. So
the schools will be all over that, because effectively that it's for them. They can inspire people. They can drive and motivate their young. So.
Well, absolutely. Before the lockdown, we was going to the schools, and sometimes the schools came to us. So personally, when I was running it then, I was trying to get them to come to the OBS, because I wanted them to go and see the main telescope, look right. They've got the opportunity to look around an observatory, that sort of thing. But was equally happy to go to the schools on it and just really try and get them involved. And it was going down really well. So now we're moving more online on it, which is more difficult. It's more difficult to get over that enthusiasm and looking through a camera through the scope. It's not the same, but it is better than nothing. But that is a strong place where we want to go, to get really embedded with the schools and have an impact on that department as well.
We've got an interesting branch of astronomy at Sherwood Observatory, Kristian, called radio astronomy. And a few years ago, through some budget allowance, we've actually installed and implemented a purpose-built shipping container that's all painted and kitted out. The interior, it's all full of electronics, and it acts like a Faraday cage for radio astronomy, basically. And we've got antennas set up on top of the observatory that allows for meteor detection. So we're all kitted up for radio astronomy purposes, and that's a new upcoming sort of area for us at Sherwood Observatory as well. So that's run by one or two people, and so that's a new branch for us where we're going into and looking to expand on that as well. Really, is radio astronomy for meteor detection, and there's various other things we can do with that. We can actually listen to the sun, the activity of the sun as well. And
watching just last night, in fact, by DW, the German documentary producers, and they were talking about the new solar telescope that's been set up. I think it's due to arrive in location sometime in the next month, and it's designed to view the corona of the sun. It's the closest object we've sent to the sun, and it's at a certain point. It's only like 4 million miles from the sun's surface. It's going to have like 24 elliptical loops before it eventually will dive into the sun, and the idea is it has an artificial eclipse that you can actually view the corona around the side. And that was fascinating. I mean, if you could give that to a young person, they're guaranteed to be inspired.
Absolutely, the technology, what's happening nowadays to, like I say, get up close and personal to our sun, our local star, it's just fantastic. It's just opening up so many things we didn't know and trying to understand our sun. It's just fantastic. And like I say, the people just want to soak all this stuff up. Just dropping back onto the radio astronomy, we do have strong links with Henegate School as well. We've been helping set them up with their radio telescope as well. We've got spare equipment, because some of the budgets these schools have is just pathetic, really, which shouldn't be so. They should be funded to the hilt on it. So we was helping to set their radio telescope up as well, and we're trying to encourage as much as possible on it, and that's showing really nice results as well. So get involved with as many people as possible, but it is difficult being a charity and people are working during the day. So I'd like to say, can you donate your fee to our planetarium project, Kristian? That'd be great. A couple of grand, is it?
Yeah, that's for sure.
Cheers, Kristian. Knew we could count on you.
So the one thing I was filming this documentary up in Sutton, Ashfield, and it has a meteorological element, and I kind of wonder if I could run it by you guys. Might even be aware of it. So in 1987, 12th of November, there was what's famously locally known as the Thunderbolt incident, and so I was kind of wondering if you guys know or have heard that, or know anything of that experience.
Crikey, I was 9 years old and I didn't even live in such areas. The Thunderbolt. I'm quite positively intrigued by that. I need to know more about it, Kristian.
Yeah, we're going to look. Oh, is that 1987?
1987, 12th of November. So, so I'm trying. Unfortunately, I think a more logical event occurd. But however, it has a local folklore attachment of something a bit more spooky, a bit more a supernatural alien, who knows what it was, craft. So what appears to have happened is that there's a number of locations across Sutton what had damage physically happened to their buildings, and lots of windows blew out, lots of buildings were physically struck. One building had to be demolished because it had hit so hard on the side, the building actually tipped to the right. And then a vessel, a craft of some description, appears to have come down in Thieves' Wood, and then it appears to have then levitated up again, and then came down not too far from your observatory, and that's the reason I was up there. However, it appears to have a bit more of a logical story to it. It appears to be in a military craft that came down. There was a military response at the time. There was 2 Chinooks. There was helicopters in the area. There was a mass shutdown of some of the roads there while a recovery happened. But as such, because of those elements, and of course then it ran into X-Files eras of 1990s. It adapted and adopted a more local legend of something else that had occurred, but. There's a bit more of a logical explanation, but if you talk to people in the area, they'll go, "Oh yeah, I saw this lightning in the sky and it blew out all the windows and all the TVs all burst and all the bushes were burned. No one knows what happened. There was an explosion happened on the Cockmore estate."
Is that embellished take on it, or it was some of the elements true?
Those things actually happened. I've spoken to them. The fire service, the police service, and. It'd be
interesting to know what the weather was doing that night as well.
Well, actually, I've been in contact with the Met Office actually regarding the very situation. So the weather of the area for this area was clear. However, 2 reports say it wasn't, that there was a storm. It's rather interesting.
Okay, right. Yeah. This sounds fantastic. This has got makings of a great story.
It is. So if you actually head to my website, kristianlander.com, I've got perhaps the most concise amount of data on the topic from official sources, and what people have said and what their experiences were and what they saw. And I kind of wondered how many people have perhaps brought that to your guys' attention, going, "Oh, did you see something?" But perhaps not.
No, I've not heard of that before, actually. So I'm quite intrigued. So
missing something here. We do get inquiries about things, lights in the sky and things like that. but yes, but not that one. I'm not aware of that one. But yeah, well, lots of people have now got these cameras, security cameras and things like that, or all sky cameras. And there is quite a bit online with various fireballs and things like that. What it catches, which again does result in more inquiries to the observatory on it. So we are installing actually some more all sky cameras on top of the radio centre, so we can view the whole sky, and so try and capture things, because at the moment we're not covering all the area, but that will be addressed. So it's all about
even have like say like a webcam running 24 hours a day, looking at you when you guys are operating. Run that as a little kind of a camera on your website. Kind of people could view and go, oh, what the guys doing tonight and what they're looking at. That'll be fun. That could be fun.
Yeah, like I say, we're going to learn lessons from this lockdown. So when we're doing events again, we can sort of live stream at least part of it. It can only be good for our future. Help promote the society and promote astronomy. And like I say, we will be doing live streams of talks as well, even when we can get back to normality. Again, to put it out in the public domain, it is.
There's the option also to earn money from those, effectively.
Well, there's always
live stream. You pay £1 or £5 or whatever. You can then watch or perhaps ask questions, or you get a guest come along and they kind of interaction. People can pay to ask those as some of a revenue for them. That's always quite an interesting idea.
Sure, but we're looking at having a guest speaker, so we can have like a live interaction, one-to-one general chat, so we can questions to just be kicked about, not just the speaker to be talking about one specific item. We're looking at that to do as well, something different, because I think sometimes the lecturers would like to sort of just chill out a bit and just explore other areas on it. So we're always looking at things to do.
Okay, I think we've been running for about an hour or so now. So that's it. I know. Isn't it? So, would you like to share your social media links and your website and where people can find out more about your location?
Yeah, absolutely. That's not a problem at all.
So, what's your current web address? Is it?
Okay, so it is www.sherwood-observatory.org is our website. Just Google Sherwood Observatory and you'll come up with our society. So Sherwood Observatory is home to Mansfield and Sutton Astronomical Society, basically.
Okay. Yeah. And if people wanted to get in contact, do you guys use social media as well? Is that something you guys are engaged with?
Yes, we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook. Again, if you put in Sherwood Observatory or Mansfield and Sutton Astronomical Society, you will get to the same location.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic. Is there anything you guys wanted to share? Or any other hidden stories you guys wanted to put across before we head off?
I don't know if you're aware, Kristian, but next month there's a Nottingham Festival of Science and Curiosity. I don't know if you're aware of such a thing that's happening across Nottingham. It's a relatively new thing that's happening. I think it happened early last year, and it's going to be rolled out again this year, but it's all online, as you can understand, given the current pandemic. And Sherwood Observatory are just working in association with the Nottingham Festival of Science and Curiosity, and we're doing an online lecture on the 13th of February. So Sherwood Observatory is going live via Zoom platform onto YouTube, and that will be available from links on our website and our YouTube channel as well. So yeah, check it out, Nottingham Festival of Science and Curiosity. It's a new upcoming thing that's going to happen every year in Nottingham, across Nottingham.
I think I'll give you a shout to see what's going on, so that'll be really interesting.
Yeah, stuff like that will be on our website where people can log on, get the latest information of exactly what we're going to be doing on that. So we will be pushing, harder into those fields to go out into the public domain.
Fantastic, man. So what I'll draw this interview to a close here, but we can talk afterwards. And the idea is that I would generally put these out on a Tuesday typically. So this will run around about 2 weeks' time. And that'll go. This conversation will then go public onto there. And I think there's something really powerful that people can learn about the sky. People can talk about what's in their local community. And I think there's something really engaging to have. and people need to know about these places. I want people to go and learn more. So, and I think that's what I think is I take as my educator job is I will find interesting people to talk about, and I want people to go and investigate and learn themselves. So,
Absolutely, there's lots of areas what people can explore. Not necessarily ours, for example, but during this lockdown, people I think have been looking into other areas what they wouldn't normally say venture. So it's just a great platform, isn't it? What you're doing to educate the people. What is available out there? What is in their community? And that broaden their interests and their horizons.
absolutely. I mean, I don't know about you. When I was a kid, I saw Cosmos with Carl Sagan, and my mum was much like Horizon and the shows with David Attenborough. I really have a good appreciation of those things, and that wanted me to learn more. However, my life education didn't direct me into those fields. My lifelong passion has always been there, and I always keep a tab on what's going on in the world of science and astronomy, because I'm forever interested in the fact that we are such a small dot in this cosmic darkness that's all happening all around us. What people say, it's a very humbling experience to realize how small we really are in the galactic scheme of things.
Absolutely. It was Carl Sagan who turned the Voyager probes around to look back, and they saw the pale blue dot of planet Earth, wasn't it? And that made people realise just how insignificant we are. And a similar thing happened with the Apollo 8, when we flew all the way to the moon and we discovered planet Earth, didn't we? Earthrise, and that blue and white orb just in the blackness of space, just hanging there, little fragile little blob on it. And we're looking down at a barren world, the moon, and got this little oases of life hanging there, looking very fragile. And all those billions of people on the surface scuttling about, fighting. What's it all about, people? Enjoy it. Yeah, it is just simple photographs, just fantastic. The power, no words necessary. Just look at it. It's just amazing.
And you think about the chance of it actually happening is so small. We managed to find like the Goldilocks point where we're an equal number of distance away from the sun or a little bit closer. Our entire atmosphere is vastly different, and our opportunity to be even alive, let alone consider that we've existed outside of the orbit and we've looked down at the Earth, is just incredible. Has that happened anywhere else?
They do say that our universe is an awful waste of space if it's just only us here, because it seems like all the ingredients, how the universe comes about through nuclear synthesis of elements in stars, it just seems so geared up to create situations that allow entities such as planets to form. And under the right conditions and environments, then why not? I don't believe it's just us here. I'm pretty sure there's other Earths out there as well with life on it.
There is. It can't be just us, because there's too much stuff out there to make us. And it is, and the chance it's a bit of a waste, really.
You've been watching Ryan Fox too much, coming out with stuff.
It is. Well, like you say, Kristian, the Goldilocks zone is just being sort of Venus, Earth, Mars, hasn't it? But now we're looking at the moons around giant planets.
Yeah,
the Galilean moons, for example, Titan, Enceladus, and stuff like that, where they're just balls of ice, but just water worlds with underground oceans. So who knows what's lurking under the oceans? Who knows what's lurking under the oceans of this world, what we're on?
Yeah, there's still people stuff, certainly. There was recently a massive wave that hit Australia, and all these creatures washed up on the beach have never been seen before. And there's something like 200 or 300 species of fish that never been seen. And that's a massive wave, and you're thinking, what else is there?
Well, precisely. You can go down to the bottom of the ocean, thousands of feet, and it just looks like a lunar landscape. It's devoid. It seems devoid of anything, but I don't believe that at all. So much we don't know. But how far we've come. Just think, since the Wright brothers flew, first time they flew, well, in February of this year, February the 18th, I think, Perseverance will land, hopefully, safely on the surface of Mars, and it's carrying a helicopter. It's going to be a powered flight on the surface of another planet.
Wow. I didn't know
How
that.
cool is that? And it does work. It's been tested to death on planet Earth. So in that short space of time from the first flight, and I think they flew, was it about 120 feet? Well, this helicopter on Mars is going to fly about 300 feet. First flight on another planet. It'll be easily twice as long as the Wright brothers' first powered flight.
So what, is that like a drone? Is that how that's going to work?
Yeah, it's all going to be, it's a helicopter, twin rotor helicopter, and it's underneath the Perseverance rover, stowed away. And then once it's sorted itself out, the rover, it's going to eventually drop the helicopter on the surface of Mars, move away to a safe distance. It's all done remotely from to be the rover what's operating it. How cool is that? A robot operating a robot.
It's quite remarkable, really, given how tenuous the atmosphere of Mars is compared to the Earth, really. I mean, the atmospheric pressure on Mars is probably 1,000 times lower than the Earth.
Yeah.
It's really remarkable.
And it's going to be solar powered, so it'll charge itself up, and it'll be able to fly about 50 feet in the air and about 300 feet distance, about 90 seconds of powered flight on it. It's going to film it. It's going to beam it back to Earth. So it's just a test bed. The success of the mission don't rely on this helicopter working, because there's other test things on board the rover. But it's going to drop an helicopter on there. It's going to be brilliant. It's going to have a camera. It's got a couple of cameras, if I remember correctly. It'll be fantastic. But it's just a test bed. If it works, it'll be rolled out, for future missions.
You've made this up so much now. Well, it's got to work more than ever, I tell you.
It better work.
Think about how long Curiosity's been still working. I mean, the fact that it was only supposed to run for about a month, wasn't it? And it's still going.
Still going, absolutely. So it's just amazing what we can do with our thought. And don't forget, these like Curiosity and Perseverance, what are going to be on the planet and are on the planet Mars, is older technology anyway, because there's so many years lead up time before it even flies. So it's got to be tried and tested technology at the time, ready for flight. So it's still older technology anyway.
Well, it's like the Voyager spacecraft, the first Voyager probe that's going out there. It's still communicating with it. I really do think in years to come it will be like the first Star Trek motion picture episode.
It's got to be, hasn't it? Those aliens coming to our solar system are going to bump into that and bring it back. No, that'll be a story.
It would, yes. Hopefully that would be a better movie than the motion picture.
Oh yeah, it's typical Hollywood, isn't it?
I don't think that had anything to do with that first movie.
It's a popcorn movie. It is. But yeah, there's so much stuff out there. It's just fantastic. There's always something happening on it. It is. It's just like the Juno probe going around Jupiter. It's been extended now, and it's excellent. The close-up images of it peering into the planet. Fantastic.
It's a great thing about astronomy and science in the day we're in, Kristian, that it's not static, it's always changing. I mean, people may look up at the sky and see that, well, it's been there for years, it never seems to change, but it is changing, and there's always lots to see up there.
I guess you got the solar weather as well. That's a big thing. As that documentary I was watching last night, I wasn't even sure that solar wind actually existed. It was a theoretical concept, and the guy who proposed that back in the 1960s was kind of ridiculed out of science. It wasn't until in the early 2000s when it was actually proven to exist, let alone. And that's now he got to saw his satellite go up there to actually now measure this.
Well, way to think about it, Kristian, is that the Earth is actually inside the sun's outer atmosphere, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Given the winds that's coming off the sun and being projected out into the outer solar system, yeah.
Was that Eugene Parker, wasn't it, who proposed this?
That's right.
And they said, get out of it. You should never close your minds, because you never know what. And I think it was a Russian probe, what flew, it might have been the year later, and actually measured it. And then I think an American Explorer probe confirmed it about 3 years later on it, that, these solar particles, excuse me, It's constantly streaming out from the sun. And already that Parker probe has returned fantastic information, and sort of lifting the veil on how certain things happen on it. Just amazing that the technology, what they can use. I think part of that heat shield was how they make it work was from cave paintings, the material what our ancient ancestors were using to paint things on these caves was used in the actual building of the heat shield.
Interesting.
Stuff like that on it. So it's great. I love how history sort of merges with today and the future, and it's like a jigsaw what gets put together. Yeah, it works. Brilliant.
It really is.
It is, absolutely.
So what have you guys got planned for the rest of the day then?
Try and get a decent cup of coffee, I think.
Yeah, that's actually a nice first step then. New cup of coffee then off to work, unfortunately, for me.
Yeah, we'll just play it by ear today. I would have been out on my bike, but no, it's a bit late now in the day. So I'll sort something out.
It's rainy, I think.
Well, seriously, when able, Kristian, do come up to Sherwood Observatory. You're more than welcome. And if the sun's out during the daytime, if it is the daytime you come, we'll get you to look through the solar telescope and you can see the sun in all its glory. And hopefully, if the sun's active, you can actually see gaseous material be ejected off the sun. You can see that in real life. Like tree-like tendrils coming off the sun.
You guys have seen. I'm a certified drone pilot. So it'd be interesting to get get a few shots up from the observatory at some time if they come up there.
Yeah, honestly, Kristian, you've got an open invitation to come to the OBS, and that lot will get you looking through some scopes and on that. Just really look forward to that. Fantastic.
All right, awesome. Well, we'll definitely have to plan that and make that happen. So I'm bound to be back that way at some point anyway. So I guess this documentary. So we'll make that happen.
Very good.
All right, man. Good. Fantastic to meet you guys, and great to spend some time with you. And I look forward definitely to keeping in contact. So.
Absolutely, Kristian. Really look forward to today, and it's been better than I thought it would be. It's been great.
It's been great.
I was chatting to Brandon just before, obviously you got in, Rob, and a bit like I kind of wondered, Rob, how you were wondering how this conversation was going to go, because you were a bit like a bit stoic in your messages, going, he's worried. I can tell he's a bit concerned.
What's in my email
I thought that you might have thought you were worried about it. The way I read it, I was a bit like, he's a bit unsure.
Well, that's what I prefer face-to-face contact. I'm a people person.
Same here, man. Same here.
I try and get stuff over electronically, but I'm much better with people face-to-face. I like it chilled out and relaxed, and this has been great. It's been fantastic.
What's the idea? Just come and get yourself comfortable, get a coffee, and we'll just run with the conversation. I've found that of the episodes that I've done so far, so I've done about 40 so far. Various guests, various friends that I've had online, and everyone's been like, "Need to get a coffee, start again. Let's keep going. We'll do another one." So
yeah. That's how these interviews should be, really.
Absolutely.
We don't want anything formatted and we're going to ask you this question, that question, we're going to go down there. I find just chuck things in, kick it about and see what comes up, because it can lead to all sorts of little things. It's like when I'm doing talks and that, they always tell me it's 90 minutes depending on how many questions are asked. And sometimes I just chuck little tidbits in and just let them kick it about. And I always remember once that this group up and just got onto Mars. And I just honestly forget. It was just almost a throwaway line. And flipping out the conversation, how it flowed around the room. I'll just get on with it then. I had to eventually cut in and bring it to a halt because we'd have been there all night. But just great. Just the interaction, what went off, like a ripple effect.
Yeah. And that's what happens. When you have a formal structure, it's a bit like, this is what I'm going to ask you, and this is what I'm expected to have an answer within like 50 to 70 seconds. And you got you'll be done within 15 minutes. That's the worst thing, to have a conversation like that. And I think the long form conversation is a lot better. You can understand how people work, how they think, how they communicate, and what they're like as an educator, and you can see their passion. And that's such a different feeling when people see that, and they realise it's actually a genuine conversation. I think there's something really touching about that.
Yeah, you got some great ways of prompting and things like that. Just so casual, and yeah, that's it. It just works. Just simply does. So yeah, definitely would like to do this again. Would like to get you up personally to the OBS, that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
So
cool.
show you around the place, the radio centre, the reservoir, that sort of thing, and that.
I'll
Do a
do
live
it.
broadcast from there.
That
Brilliant.
sounds awesome. So I'm not even sure we can even travel publicly yet. Can we? Can we use the train yet? I don't know.
No, I think, if it's sort of charitable work, so if you're a charity, we're good to go.
Well, you can do if you want to pay £200.
Yeah. No, I don't want that £200 taken out of our fee, Brendan. Come on.
Because I was going to say, it's like, is there something extra? Are they at tier 3? Is that how it is at the moment?
We're in tier 4, I think.
Okay,
Tier
so-
4 plus.
Yeah, I think the numbers are going to keep going up, aren't they?
I think so.
I think that's the only way they're going to keep this this fear going, isn't it? Keep raising.
Well, it is. We could have dealt with this a lot better, targeted protection and stuff like that. I don't buy into Project Fear. I'm not denying COVID at all. It's a killer. We know people who it's affected personally. We can protect the vulnerable people, and all the people take the right precautions, be sensible people. We can work with this stupid COVID.
Yeah.
We can still have, because I think lockdowns affect people so badly. It's causing lots of problems, and we're going to be paying for that in lots of ways years to come.
For sure.
Yes, years to come.
Oh. Right, I'm going to go get off and get ready for work and all that.
Yes, of course.
Hey,
Soon.
get some work done, Kristian. Come on.
Many thanks for your time, Kristian. It's been great.
Yeah. Thank you, Kristian. Brilliant. Really appreciate it.
All right, take care, guys. See you soon.
All the best. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.